This is Mario Andretti, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. I did it. You know how I love to collect all of them. Now I have completed the collection of the Watercooler podcast. The Watercooler podcast includes hosts Chris Loxamana, Gary Smith, Matt Fondelier, Kaylin Bean, and today's guest, Mike Dawson. Mike Dawson is the voice of the Adam Carolla network. He is an audio engineer, a producer for the Adam Carolla show, and several other shows on Adam's network. Mike is a voiceover guy. He does commercials. I'm 1,000% sure you've seen and or heard some of his work. And he narrates audiobooks. And once you hear his voice, if you haven't already, you will understand why. In this episode, Mike and I talk about how he came to be an audio engineer, how he came to work with Adam Carolla and the podcast and the radio days and all that good stuff. He tells some cool stories about some different DJ work that he's done for different events around the country. And then we talk about his band, the Smokin's forthcoming album, which will be released very soon. Pay attention to that. And he lets me play one of his older songs that's not on this new album. He has just launched into reading the audio versions of all 20 of Kinky Friedman's detective novel series. So we talk a lot about that and how that came to be. And finally, I gush maybe a little too much about how kind and welcoming Mike and everybody else at the Adam Carolla Network has been to me. Mike has been on my bucket list almost since the day I decided to start my show. So I'm very excited to have Mike Dawson on Fascination Street. This was recorded during all the self-distancing due to the coronavirus outbreak. So if that is over by now, woohoo. If not, damn it. But either way, this is my conversation with Mike Dawson.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast. Mike Dawson, how you doing today?
Excellent, my friend. How are you?
I am wonderfulonium. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever called me and I did not answer the phone, or if you have called to have your windows cleaned for your home and I did not answer the phone, you will be familiar with the voice of my guest. Also, I guess maybe if you've ever heard the Adam Carolla show, blah, 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 whatever.
Right, but no, it's the window cleaning service for sure, Steve. 100%.
Oh, yeah, that is right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the great Mike Dawson, the voice of the Adam Carolla show, Adam Carolla Digital, and a whole bunch of commercials you didn't even know was him.
I prefer the correct nomenclature is not the great Mike Dawson, it's the slightly above average Mike Dawson.
The elevated Mike Dawson. All right.
Elevated, that's a good word.
So the way I like to start, Mike, is I like to get people's history. It kind of helps us understand how they got to where they are by figuring out where they came from. So where were you born and raised, man?
I was born in Walnut Creek, California. Thankfully, I didn't have to grow up there. I grew up in Concord, California, which is a little more my style, up until I was 18 or so, and then went to UC Davis, and then got arrested and kicked out of school.
Wait,
and
what?
Then,
you're gonna have to give more than that. What happened?
Yeah, no, that's a book, man. I'm not spoiling that. I'm not spoiling that on any podcast.
Nice.
That's a whole book.
So why did you go to UC Davis? I know they have a big viticulture thing there. Did you want to grow grapes?
You would think that'd be great, right? If I just went and did a farming agricultural thing, because they are an Aggie school. They're the only other University of California that can actually call themselves Cal. Did you know that?
I did not.
It's Cal Davis and Cal Berkeley. Cal Davis started out as the farm school of UC Berkeley.
Interesting.
And then it became its own UC, but it's the only other one you can call Cal. So the Cal Aggies at UC Davis. I went there as an aeronautical engineering major because my father once told me, Michael, an engineer can be a DJ, but a DJ can't be an engineer. Yeah. So I did that for a year. You go to your first college physics class. It's at like 7:00 in the morning, and you realize you do not belong here.
Nice. What did your dad do?
Work shift work at a power plant. As blue collar as it can get. He worked, 3 jobs for about 10 years. He was maybe home for about 5 hours a day, every other day from the first 10 years of my life. So my mom didn't have to work.
Is it because he didn't really like seeing your face, or everything was just so expensive?
No, we had to pay for kids. My parents had to pay for their 2 kids. And then when my brother finished first grade in public school and couldn't read a fucking thing, my parents were like, okay, it's private school. And so they had to work their asses off in order to afford all that. It was strictly the need, and my dad worked so much because he knew it was important that my mom stay home with us and raise us.
Very
it all
cool.
worked out.
That is a bygone era, my friend. Now, I know that your family immigrated to America from, I want to say Italy. Were they fishermen or something?
Sicilian immigrants 5 generations ago, settled in the city of Pittsburgh, California, which in the Bay Area, Pittsburgh used to be much bigger and affluent because the ports are there in the Sacramento River Delta. So a lot of shipping and stuff would go through Pittsburgh. And then a lot of the family moved to Pacific Grove, California, which is in the Monterey Peninsula. And they all became fishermen out there. I love fishing.
The Sicilian Fisherman sounds like a mob movie.
Yeah, totally, right? Scorsese, get on that, The Sicilian Fisherman.
That's right.
I'll do the trailer VO.
Hell yeah, you will. And the opening shot can just be probably De Niro or Pesci or whoever leaning against Uncle Frank's statue at Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah, I think we got to get Ray Liotta back in this. I think it should be Ray.
That's hilarious. I know a lot about you, I feel like, because I've listened to every single episode from episode 1 of the Adam Carolla Show, and I've listened to you on the Watercooler a few times. And I've heard you on other things. So I know some things about you and some things I'm super curious about. Like, for instance, did you work for the Olympics?
I've worked 2 Olympic Games. 2002 Winter Olympic Games in Salt Lake City. I was the music director of Utah Olympic Park. I had to create a radio station. It wasn't really a radio station. It just sounded like one. At Utah Olympic Park, it's the host of the bobsled and the ski jump. And in order to save time and energy and gas for the buses running that had to run 1.5 miles up this hill to shuttle people, they built a path and every 100 yards put a stereo pair of speakers in there to encourage people to walk. I was up at the top of the hill saying, KUOP, get to the top. We got the ski jump up here today, shit like that. And then playing songs. And then I did, created a bunch of radio imaging bumpers, stupid stuff. Like I took the Olympic theme and I sang, hey, man, my feet are tired. How much longer do we have to walk up this hill? Radio KUOP, Utah Olympic Park. So I did that.
Hilarious.
People had fun. And then they got to the top and they crest this hill and I had a wireless. So I didn't have to be in the booth. I could be out in the snow and people would be cresting this hill. And then they'd see the guy who's talking to him. And then they'd see my lips moving and me talking to a microphone. That's the guy. We've been listening to you for the last 1.5 miles. It was great because it's still that same magic that you always got in radio when you meet a disc jockey for the first time. You're like, that's what you look like. Wow. It's neat. It was fun. And then in 2010, I was the music director for Whistler Olympic Park. Whistler Olympic Park had a few events. They had the ski jump. They had the ski and shoot, which is like the biathlon, I guess it's called, and cross country events. But I was the DJ for the ski jump. It's the greatest job in the world.
That is super dope. I had no idea which Olympics or whatever, but I interviewed somebody who was at your Utah Olympics, Park City. Previous guest of this show is Winston Watts, who is a 4-time Jamaican Olympic bobsledder.
Oh,
And
nice. Yeah,
so
they were
he was
there.
up there. Yeah, they were.
there. I saw them actually roll, dude. I saw them go. It was pretty cool. Like, oh, those are the Jamaican guys.
Somewhere around here, he gave me a full-size Jamaican flag signed by everybody.
Nice. That's a gift.
My wife had taken a temporary job working down there in Wyoming, but not far from Park City. And she ended up meeting him and telling him, hey, my husband has a show, blah, blah, blah. So I flew out there to go hang out with my wife for a little bit and then to interview this dude. And he was the coolest guy. He told me all these crazy stories. He used to be like a sniper for the Jamaican paramilitary. It was insane.
Nice.
And then he was like, have you ever been to the Olympic Park? And I was like, no. He's like, let's go. And so we went, and they weren't even open, but we went, and he gave me the tour, and then we went zip lining for the first time. I mean, I had so much fun with that dude. So
apparently somewhere in Utah Olympic Park is my name on a plaque in some building with every other person because that was the inauguration of that venue. Right. And so I've never seen it. I've only heard about it. Maybe it's there. Maybe I'll see it one day.
Now I'm going to have to get back over there and see if I can find your name. Besides the Olympics, you did some other outdoor weird shit. What the hell is the Great Outdoors Games? And
Great Outdoor Games?
Yeah.
Redneck Olympics. That's just shooting events, logging events, river events. It's the Redneck Olympics.
Is it the logging thing where like they stand on a log and spin, that kind of thing?
That's part of it. It's a small part. For that event, I was the DJ for the shooting range. And so essentially your job is just to find any song that has anything to do with shooting and just play it during the event. There was nothing to it. The hardest part about that job was it was in Orlando in August. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever been to Orlando in August, but August should not exist in Orlando. That's the worst month in the world.
You hear that, Mike August?
Yeah.
No,
as soon as you
Orlando.
walk outside, you are soaked with sweat.
It sounds like you have had a lot of fun doing a bunch of different cool shit. But let's go to the Wayback Machine. Tell me how trips riding in an Opel automobile changed the course of your life.
Oh, I guess you've heard this story before. I used to drive around with my mom running errands and doing whatever she had to do. And she had this old shitty Opel. And this is way before seatbelt laws. So I used to just stand on the seat and my head would press up against the roof of the car and I felt safe. And we'd listen to the radio and I'd hear the DJ talking and I started turning down the radio after that guy was done. And I'd just say what he said, but try to do it better. You know, I won't say it changed the course of my life. It was certainly an early indicator of what I might do when I grew up.
There you go. That's probably how I should have phrased it. I love that story. That's a cute story because it has a whole bunch of things that nobody's ever heard of before. Opel.
Radio.
Standing up in a car.
Right.
The radio, yeah. It's like going down memory lane.
Right.
But even though you do have this super duper made for a microphone voice, you haven't always had it. Well, as far as you know, something happened when you were a late teenager, early adult. I think I know it. You had a strange blood disorder called supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, right?
Idiopathic thrombocytopenia purpura.
That's what I said.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. You missed a few syllables. That's cool. It essentially means all of a sudden you're a hemophiliac. You don't get blood transfusions, but you can't stop. Your blood just won't clot anymore. And it turns out that my spleen was killing the platelets in my blood. And so my platelet count was like 1% of what it should have been. And they just had to remove my spleen. Well, in the course of that, not quite sure, but if you Sherlock Holmes this a little bit, I had a tube resting on my esophagus for 3 weeks, pumping my stomach while I was in recovery. And when I got out of the hospital, I did not sound like I sounded before.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And I can't say 100% that's accurate, but being someone who trusts science and relies on facts and research seems clear to me.
I'm going to go with you on that one. Like I said at the top.
Cigarettes help.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, cigarettes and booze always helps. They help the great Frank Sinatra. I said at the top of the show that I have a window washing business. So that means that a lot of my day, sometimes I'll go 8 hours without uttering a single word because I'm just have headphones in, I'm minding my own business, and I'm not talking to anybody. And I notice that those days where I don't say anything for 6, 8 hours, when I do speak, I sound like a frog. I sound like my voice is deeper. My voice is a little rumblier. And so it would make perfect sense to me that if I can't imagine you were doing a whole lot of talking during that 3 weeks.
Yes, I wasn't. Your vocals do get strained if you talk throughout the day, as you can hear a lot of times when I'm on the Carolla show. There are days I don't sound good. That's because I've done a lot of talking the day prior. The way it does affect your voice is your voice gets a little higher. Your voice gets a little cracky. So it does make sense that after much rest, you have a low resonant voice. That's just science.
That's just science.
Hey, Streetwalkers. Here's a word from our sponsors.
This is Alan Bishop, distiller with Spirits of French Lick. Our apple brandy will leave a lasting, full-bodied finish with each taste. Our 2-year-old apple brandy is made by concentrating on flavor and aroma with hints of caramel and vanilla. This double pot distilled spirit is a tribute to the history and the future of Southern Indiana distillation. Fermented and distilled from fresh Midwest apple juice, please come on by for a tasting of our apple brandy or visit us online at spiritsofFrenchlick.com. Drink responsibly and please be 21 years or older.
Let's get back into it.
Your dad wanted you to be an engineer, right? And you kind of did, but in a different way. Why did you decide to go to audio engineering school or whatever they call it? What do they call it?
It's audio engineering school. I'm a certified audio engineer or recording engineer or sound engineer, however people want to say it. But yes, I am an engineer now. And when I did get that degree, I went to my dad and I said, "Hey, I'm an engineer."
Said engineers can be DJs.
Exactly. It was a school that was just advertising on the Carolla show. And I know how radio advertising works. I knew that it would be valuable to this school if I went to school and was able to talk about it during the commercials. So I just talked to the salesperson. And it was a funny thing because I knew it was going to be a pain in the ass. I knew it was going to be very tough. It was a 10-month program. And for those 10 months, I drove a total of 6 hours every day and was gone for 10 hours. And all I had to do was go from the beach to Alhambra, back to the beach to Glendale, and back to the beach. It's only like 20 miles in each direction. But in Los Angeles, 20 miles is 2 hours.
LA traffic sucks, man. It's the fucking worst.
Now, I knew it was going to be tough, but, when opportunities like that come up where, I've been working with this equipment for 20 years, I know how things work, but I didn't know why. And once you understand why compressors do what they do or why equalization is important, once you know these things, you're 100 times the sound guy that you once were. I didn't have to pay for it. I saw it as a challenge and one that would certainly be rewarding upon completion. So I just said, fuck it, do it. You don't have a choice. And I got straight A's.
You didn't get arrested and thrown out?
No, not at that school.
This was when Adam was doing the podcast, or was this when he was doing the radio show?
This was podcast time.
Oh, okay. Because you mentioned Glendale, and so I was like, oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah. This was a podcast advertiser.
Do you think that has helped you, other than understanding the why that you do things on the board and whatnot? Do you think it has helped you in other aspects of your life? And by that, I mean, I know that you do a lot of voiceover, and I think you even have a business. Did all of those things help you with that part of your business? I know that you probably train a lot of the producers at ACS how to use all that shit, but did it help you with your side business and your voiceovers and all that?
Absolutely. First thing it did was teach me how to use Pro Tools, which is the industry standard for recorded and produced audio. If you don't know Pro Tools, good luck producing records. So, yeah, it opened quite a few doors. And once you are a certified audio engineer, you do step up into the upper echelon of people who get that kind of work. So, yeah, it helped immensely with not only my professional growth, but personal growth. I felt much better about myself. I'm an engineer. It's a nice word. I like that word.
Yeah, and that has to add to your confidence level to be able to just walk in and know exactly what they're looking for or how to get where they want you to get, if that makes any sense.
Well, one of the first things they teach you is, on your first day at engineering school, they show you a mixing console, which I've been in front of for 20 years, not afraid of them. But they say one thing that's really important. Each mixing desk can have, 24 to 32 to 64 to 120 channels, but each channel is exactly the same. So if you learn one channel and you see a 64 channel board, relax. All you need to do is learn that one channel. Everything else is the same. It's called a channel strip, and it goes from everything in between the microphone to the sound. That's the signal path. This microphone through a cable into the board to a gain knob to a high pass filter to EQ to buses and sends to panning to output to fader. And as long as you just learn what each of those does, you can work any board. I don't care what the board is.
Kick ass. Do you have a board right there in front of you at your house?
I'm doing this off my computer, but you'll see behind me, that's a PreSonus 24-channel mixer. I use that for band practice and all the stuff we do here in the garage.
By the way, it looks awesome behind
Thank you.
you. You're welcome. Awesome, Dawson. It looks amazing behind you. It can't be easy to get into the radio game, which you did for years and years and years until the Carolla show went to podcast form, I guess. How did you get into the Radio Biz? Oh, wait, look. My wife says, tell Dawson hi, and that sometimes I hope you don't answer the phones just so I can hear his voice. Oh, great.
Hi,
thanks.
tell her hi. That's sweet.
Fan fuck. It's not that sweet. Now I'm mad.
Well, to me it is.
All right, so how'd you get into radio, man?
Let's see. I graduated from UC Santa Barbara in 1997. My father called me couple weeks before graduation, and he said, I'm going to drive the truck down next weekend. We'll move all your stuff back home so we don't have to do a graduation weekend. I'm like, nope. I'm flipping pizzas and valet parking cars, and I just got an internship at a sales department at a radio station. So I'm staying here, and you're cut off, and I don't want your money anymore, and thanks for everything. And fortunately, because I worked my whole life and my parents saved, I don't understand how people don't do it these days, but I had no debt when I graduated college because we saved and made sacrifices and paid for school. So I don't have to take out student loans.
I want to pause you there to let everybody know that when he says we saved, he doesn't just mean his parents. Since Dawson was 12 years old, he had to work and get a job, and then that money went straight into the bank. He didn't get to go buy motorcycles and bicycles and skateboards and shit. He had to work, and he put that money in the bank, and that's what he means when he says we saved.
Yeah, every summer, 40 hours a week. My first job paid $3.50 an hour. And I never saw any of that money. It all went to college.
Well, that is fantastic. Well done. Good job, Pops.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't have any debt, so I was free to flip pizzas, park cars, and get into a sales department of radio. They offered me a job in sales, and I'm like, I got a better idea. Put me on the other side of the mic. They said, good luck, kid. Beat it. I beat it. And then every single Monday, I went to every single radio station in Santa Barbara. There's like 4 of them at the time. It was really in 2 buildings, honestly. And I went to them with a resume and a cover letter in hand every single Monday, first thing in the morning. Walked in, asked if I could talk to somebody in programming and asked if there was any work. And on the 3rd week of doing this, one guy said, we need people like you. And I started as a board op, as everyone starts in that business. You're just pressing buttons, pushing faders. Board opping Jim Brickman's weekend morning. Saturday morning started at 5, so I had to get there at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. Sunday morning, I got to go in a little bit later. I didn't have to be there till 5 because at 6 a.m. we ran Casey Kasem's Top 40 Countdown. That was my job. It was 10 hours a week. I got my foot in the door. And as soon as you get your foot in the door, you see somebody who's doing something that you don't know how to do, ask them how to do it. How do you do that? Start learning. And then, I became their utility guy. And eventually that turned into, an air shift here and there. And you just keep on working. And then, people move on, people die, and they hire from within in radio because back then we still had a thing called the farm. There were still kids like me who were being trained and brought up through a level of work qualification, I guess you could say.
I would say it mirrors an apprenticeship program, which we've been doing since we could walk as humans.
Absolutely. It's very much like an apprenticeship. And then when the time is right, got a full-time air shift. My first full-time air shift was 7 to midnight. And I did that one for 7 years on 99.9 K-Tide.
What kind of music was that?
Classic rock, but we called it world-class rock, which meant we could play Jack Johnson and Bob Marley. Zeppelin, Floyd, Bad Company, Grand Funk Railroad, Jack Johnson.
And Bob Marley. That's fantastic. I love that. Sort of to go along with what you just said about how you're working, doing your job, and you see somebody else do something you don't know how to do, and then you go ask them. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, if not all the time, they were happy to show you and to explain things to you, right?
Yes, most of the time.
That sort of goes along with, you have a motto, which basically is, it's amazing what people will give you if you just ask, or something like that. And I think that, that sort of ties into that. You say, hey, I don't know how to do that. Can you show me? Sometimes they say no, but generally they say yes. And you use that in just about every aspect of your life. Can you talk on that a little bit?
The worst thing that can happen is someone says no, and you learn how to deal with rejection.
My dad always told me the only stupid question is the unasked one, right?
Yeah,
and I like that. They might say no, but they can't say yes if you don't ask.
Right. In a lot of cases, it's people's pride is what keeps them from asking questions. They don't want to feel dumb. And maybe it's not pride, maybe it's a lack of confidence, but there is a level of self-deprecation in telling one of your superiors, I know shit. Can you please teach me? There's a level of I suckness in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everyone showed me. No one ever said no. The most pushback I got, and I heard about this the next day after the fact, but there were 2 DJs in the room, and I asked one of them about his job, and he was the morning show guy. And the second I walked out of the studio, he looked at the other DJ and said, that guy wants my job.
Was he right?
No, morning shows suck, dude. Know your strengths. I'm afternoon drive, 2 to 6, 4 in the door. That's where I live.
You're not trying to get up at the ass crack of dawn?
Fuck no. Did it for 3 years with Carolla, and it was difficult, man. It was incredibly difficult. You got to be there at 4:30 in the morning. You're not getting any sleep. I was at the time maybe 32 years old, prime party years, and just moved to LA. And you think I'm gonna go to bed at 9 o'clock at night? Fuck that. But now we actually started to have really good numbers towards the end. Our last year of the Carolla show, 2008, that whole year, we had finally gotten rid of Bonaducci. We had gotten rid of Brusca. Everybody knew their job. Everybody did their job, and everybody was happy. And it translated. We were starting to get amazing numbers. We were really growing in the market. We were starting to get, other radio stations who wanted to syndicate our broadcast. And I got really depressed. I'm fucked. Well, if this works, I'm going to be doing this for the foreseeable future.
That's funny. Depressed by success.
And then when we found out that we were all getting fired, I was the only one who was stoked. I was so happy.
You're all, finally, I get to take a fucking nap.
Yeah. I can go back to regular DJ life.
That had to be, yes, it was probably pretty cool that you weren't going to have to do that terrible shift anymore, but there had to be a little bit of, what the fuck am I going to do now? Because podcasting wasn't really a thing, certainly not in a capacity where people could make money. And Adam, at least, he had a pretty big nut he had to cover. So it probably wasn't top of mind. It might have been, I don't know, but it probably wasn't top of mind that all of this is just going to translate easily into podcasting. What were your thoughts on that transition?
When the radio show ended, I had already had a job lined up where I was in Whistler for the Olympics for 4 weeks. And you get a day rate for that and you get paid every day. So it's a substantial check. So I didn't need a job for 6 or 8 months.
Wow. Go Olympics.
You're eating bologna sandwiches and you're constantly looking for work, but I wasn't ready to leave Los Angeles.
Sure.
No radio stations around here were hiring. You know, it was only a short 2 months after the Olympics that we got the call that we're getting the band back together.
Nice.
You know, the first 6 months there, I did do that for free just to be a part of it. I didn't need money at the time. I was just incredibly fortunate that I had the job at Whistler to hold me over.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
If you'd like to help find answers for the families of unsolved crime victims from all over, or perhaps identify a Jane or John Doe, please visit DNAsolves.com, where you can submit your DNA from a consumer testing company like Ancestry or 23andMe to their database. DNAsolves.com.
Let's get back into it.
For those listening who don't know, when Adam first started the Adam Carolla show, the podcast version, he was still under contract, so he wasn't allowed to make money doing it. And so he basically had to come out of pocket until his contract was up. And back then, at least, hosting fees and the internet was pretty damn expensive. I think Adam said he was paying $10,000 a month just to be able to put the show out. That was just web fees or whatever the hell, hosting fees. So I think it's really cool that you did that for free for 6 months. And that is another thing that is sort of gone by the wayside is internship, for lack of a better word, is working for free, usually while you're learning something. But in this case, it was, you know, you were building good faith in a company and, you know, a relationship there.
Working for free is really, really misleading because you are getting something from it. You're either getting trained, you're getting experience, you're learning how to act in those settings. So you're not really working for free. You're getting something out of it, and you get out of it what you put into it. So like nowadays, when someone hires me for a job and pays my fees, but the job only takes me 30 minutes, they're like, well, it's only 30 minutes. Why does it cost so much? You're not paying me for 30 minutes. You're paying me for 20 years. And a lot of those years are working for free and being able to jump up into the bigs. So you always get something from free work, and it keeps you hungry.
I agree. I think it was Chuck Berry. He said, I play for free. They pay me to travel. And, you know, it's kind of like you work for 30 minutes. Yeah, but you're paying for this 20 years of experience that I have.
Exactly.
We're going to jump around here a little bit.
Sure.
I've been to Los Angeles, I think 3 times. And every time that I've been there, the good folks at ACS have been kind enough to, you know, open the doors and let me in and hang out. Hell, I've recorded, I think 4 of my episodes in the Carolla studios. And you, by the way, you complete the set. Now I have interviewed everybody who's on the Watercooler podcast.
Nice.
I like getting the whole sets. And so as far as ACS, I think I have everybody except Brian. Now, did I have you? So every time that I go to Los Angeles, I go to a restaurant that I think that you enjoy this restaurant as well. It's called The Smokehouse. Oh, yeah. I love The Smokehouse. It was introduced to me by previous guest of my show and ACS, Clint Howard. That is a super dope place, which I think you go there kind of on the regular, don't you?
It's a place where I go to discuss business, celebrate a win, or have a birthday dinner with my mom.
I didn't know about the other ones, but I knew that just about every time your mom was in town, you guys went to the Smokehouse.
Yeah.
It was so funny the other day. My wife and I there's somebody in LA who wants us to come for a thing. And I was like, hey, do you want to go to the thing? And she was like, well, can we go to the smokehouse?
Yeah.
I said, absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think they're at 20% capacity now. So you can probably get a reservation and eat inside like normal people.
Oh, you know what? It's one of my favorite stories I like to tell. The last time I was there, I had lunch with Paul Feig and Ron Howard paid for it.
Jesus Christ, dude. Jesus.
It was dope. I love that place. I feel like you have kind of a funny story about the smokehouse that happened maybe the last time you were there with your mother.
Yeah. The smokehouse bar has its barflies. And if you go there often enough, you meet the barflies. You know which stools are theirs. You know which bar stools you do not sit in. And it's this real nice old lady. She's there every day at 5. And one time my mom and I were going to go have cocktails before dinner. And we go up to the bar. My mom says, there's 2 stools there. And I said, well, one of them's for you, but I can't sit in the other one. That's this lady's. And sure enough, the lady comes up after we walk over there. And I say, hey, here's your stool. And I stood there with my mom and it was fine. She had a seat. But we were at the smokehouse this last time and we're sitting out at the patio and I'm sitting facing into the patio so I can see what's going on. And I noticed at a table across the way, well, there's that woman. My mom and I have both had conversations with her. We've cheersed. My mom has seen her once a year for the past 6 years. So we get up as we're leaving the table and her and I catch eyes and raise glasses during dinner. But as we're walking out, I just wanted to say, hello. She's a wonderful lady. And I come from the old school where barflies deserve a little bit of respect. They earned that stool. And so I walk over and I say, my dear, because I couldn't remember her name. My dear, it is so good to see you again. Do you remember my mother? And she's like, of course. So good to see you. How are you? Small talk for a second. And there's these other 2 barflies sitting at her table. And one of them gets up and he's like, I'm sorry. I forgot your name. I recognize you though. What's your name? And I look at him. I go, no, it's the other guy who looks like me. And I look at my mom and go, let's get out of here. And my mom and I walk out. And now the entire patio of the smokehouse is focused on me and my mom. And they're all wondering, who is that guy? And the answer is not who you think he is.
Listeners who haven't been, you just about can't go to the smokehouse and not see somebody famous.
Right. The last time we were there, Octavia Spencer was having dinner not 5 feet from us.
Exactly. It's that kind of place, folks.
If you have the means, and everyone has the means, it's not very expensive.
It's not very expensive at all.
It's
for
incredibly
how
reasonable.
It is. Yeah.
And you go back in time, man. God, I love that place. There's no better restaurant on earth.
It's a really cool place. Now, roughly right around 2014, you made yourself a goal. And I'm curious to see how that goal is coming along. I mean, if you did it and I don't know it, you set a goal of getting Alan Parsons into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How'd that go?
Yeah.
How's that going, man?
He's not in yet.
Who do I got to call?
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, maybe
he should be in at least as a producer.
Maybe Devo will get in. That'll make it all better.
No, it's bullshit, dude. It's all a joke, man. Pat Benatar is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All 10 middle fingers to the RNRHOF. All 10.
That's right. Suck a bag of dicks, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What are you doing? Who's in control over there? Jesus.
Well, the thing is, it's funny. The rock stars who don't get in know that it's all bullshit, and they don't really fucking care. And then the second that they get inducted, you start to care because now it's a nice accolade to you. But I do think that deep down, all of these guys know it's all bullshit. Of course, it's nice when your lifetime of work is recognized and you can be solidified in history. But I think for the most part, everyone has a level head about it, except for maybe Devo. Maybe Devo's like, yay, us, let's get some new hats.
Let's get some new hats. Sorry. So, do you still have 2 podcasts? Do you still have Front of House?
It still exists, but I haven't recorded new episodes in a while. That is an incredibly difficult process. Essentially, I was recording and producing an EP every single week, and that's setup, production, interviews. It was just too much. So I'm trying to think of an easier way to do it and a way that I can make it more beautiful for people. So when it does come back, there'll be a video element and a lot less post-production.
Nice.
The performances will just be live mixed as it happens, and that's what you get. And then there'll be video on it as well.
But the episodes that you have done are still out there, right? They're still up?
Yep. I canceled my SoundCloud account, but it hasn't caught up with the cancellation yet. So get them while you can.
Nice. That's front of house, everybody. And if I had to explain what it's like, I would say it's kind of like...
It's Rockline meets Austin City Limits.
Yeah, I was going to say it like At Home at Daryl's or whatever the fuck that show is called, but kind of like that. Yeah, exactly what you said. And then you have another podcast. It's called Watercooler or The Watercooler.
Greatest podcast in the world.
Who's on it?
That is Chris Loxamana, Gary Patrick Smith, Matt Fontelier, Kaylin Bean, and myself.
All guests of the Fascination Street podcast. Fantastic.
There you go. Yeah.
So that show is a lot of fun. You guys do a free episode and a Patreon episode every week. Is that right?
That's right. Regular episodes are released on Mondays. Patreon episodes are on Wednesdays. And it's fun. It's 5 dudes laughing about nothing. We get ridiculously stupid. If you want to dumb down life for an hour at a time, tune in. We make it real simple, and it's a lot of fun. I think we've actually really hit our stride, too.
I think you have, too. You guys, I think you are at 250 of the free episodes. That's a notch in your belt. For everybody listening, especially these last, I can't even count them, years, it's just been nothing but shitty news all day, every day. Everybody wants to kill everybody for every other. It's the Crips and the Bloods all over the place. And so the Watercooler is exactly what Dawson said it is. It's a place. It's a safe space, if you will. It's a safe space from the news and from everybody being dicks.
We're like the Latin Kings.
Well done. It is a lot of fun to listen to, so definitely check that out. Oh, absolutely. You're in a band, the Smokin Kills. How's that going during COVID, man?
Oh, we've been producing a record.
Really?
Yeah, we're a record. Actually, I just got almost final mixes today. It gets mastered on Monday. We really just spent this entire COVID time recording a record. We started before the COVID thing happened, like 6 months into it. But yeah, we've had to do some sessions where like all of the vocals were recorded in my studio while on a Zoom call with my producer, Ted, in his studio, and then digitally sent to our mixing engineer at his studio. So for a good portion of this, all of the sessions were really done isolated. It was new and weird and different, and I never want to do it like that again. There's certainly something to be said about being in the same room and the camaraderie and all that stuff. But thank God we all have our own studios, because if we really weren't able to get together and I had to go record vocals somewhere, where the hell am I going to do it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you're all saints when I'm around, 'cause I'm the last honky-tonk hero in town. Honky-tonk hero in town. I'm just a poor boy, 5 strings on my guitar. Even if I had all 6, it wouldn't get me far. 'Cause it's Friday, it's my day to party with you. 'Cause you look so nice when you're poured over ice. Can't wait to finish my glass, then you kick my ass. Saturday morning, I'm already pouring you. I'm falling, falling like the rain, 'cause you don't feel the same. Spinning round and falling down, circle in the drain. Just another Southern California But if I pretend I could be friends with your boyfriend when the song ends, in the city of the angels, the pretty ones go back. I guess they didn't get no love from mom and dad. Well, could they really change water into wine? You see, it's getting close to supper time, and this whole world has gone to hell. I'm begging, please, somebody tell me where's Jesus. Long legs, long smile, that is the Miracle Mile. Might as well go get your own East Haley Queen.
In this band, the Smokin Kills.
The Smokin, by the way. No G.
Kills.
No G.
Thank you. Sorry, the Smokin Kills. You sing, you play guitar, and you write? Is that right?
Yes.
When is this new album coming out, if you had to guess?
We don't have an exact release date yet, but it will be in mid-August. We are going to have advance releases of 3 songs starting in June. By then, the website, thesmokinkills.com, will be available and live, and you'll be able to pre-order the vinyl. The vinyl album, which we're definitely pressing vinyl, for someone like me who, has got a radio broadcast quality turntable. Vinyl is it's quite a treat.
Will kick ass.
So yeah, August record will be out in August. It gets mastered on Monday, so it's going to be done in no time. But it takes about 4 months to print vinyl. So We're just going to coincide the whole release together. Plus, that gives us 4 months to put a game plan together, put a tour together. Definitely we want to come out to Texas. We've got an open door at the Georgia Theater in Athens and another place in Atlanta. And so we're trying to figure out, do we go to Texas first, or do we fly into Fort Lauderdale and then make our way to Athens and Atlanta from there? But, hopefully that's very near on the horizon. We'll be trying to do shows all summer long, but this August, hopefully we'll be on the road. And then, we're just going to search for more opportunities as we go.
Kick ass. Definitely want to know when you guys are coming here. Of course, the wife and I would love to come see you. But even more than that, once you do have some tour dates, I would love to promote them on my show.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
You know those popping phone handle things that you see on everyone's phones nowadays? Well, how would you like to put your logo on them? Does your podcast or band need new merch? Do you want to bring attention to your new book or film? Maybe you need something unique for your Patreon or crowdfunding campaign. Then visit thelogopop.com, where you can customize them with the logo of your podcast, band, business, art, school mascot, or whatever else you can think of. These are way more affordable than you may think at thelogopop.com. Mention where you heard this ad and get free shipping on your entire order. Remember, that's thelogopop.com to order your custom popping phone handles. That's thelogopop.com.
Let's get back into it.
Now, I know that you said you guys made an album. Is there songs that you have done that are not going to be on this album? Here's why I'm asking. Can I play one of your songs?
Yeah, I got an early record. Came out in 2003.
That is early.
I'm just listed under Mike Dawson. It's there on iTunes. It's there on Amazon Music. You'll be able to find it. The album is called Mona D. It's got 10 songs on it. They're good. I think this new record blows it completely out of the water. Just being able to work with our producer, Ted Russell Camp, who, played bass on the record and has essentially joined the band. He's an amazing songwriter. And so he was able to take songs that I had written and rearrange them and make them exponentially better. And, Ted and I, at least for this record, we sat down and wrote a new song from scratch. But, included on this record, there's a song I wrote when I was 15 years old on this record.
Really?
Yeah. we reworked it and made it, more palatable. It's fantastic. But yeah, anything from the 2003 record, just Mike Dawson, Mona D.
All right, cool.
It's a solid record. Alan Parsons sings background vocals, BGVs, on this song When I Get Home.
Off the new album, the forthcoming album?
No, the old one, the 2003.
Oh, really? Oh, kick ass. That's definitely a feather in your cap.
Oh, yeah. And you know why? Because I asked.
See? Exactly.
My stupid 27-year-old self asked Alan Parsons to produce my record. And he said, right, well, how about I get someone and then I'm just around? I'm like, okay.
Okay. Deal.
Thanks.
Standing in the backyard, looking for a tree to climb. But you say that these belong to you, I guess I'll go look somewhere else for mine. And I'm troubled by these first impressions, second thoughts and last goodbyes. Yeah, we seem so real, I know you feel it too, because I saw it in your eyes. Standing at the station waiting for a train to you, second guessing everything, I wonder what else could I do. And I know it's wrong of me to leave you all alone, and I wonder if you'll still be standing when I get home. When I get home. When I get home. I get out of bed, bump my head and comb my hair and go back in. 'Cause it seems lately every moment I'm awake I wanna fall asleep again. Where I can dream about the first time, the last call, the second wife. Well, I know that it could be, because I've seen that it's been much worse in our lives. Standing at the station waiting for a train to you, second guessing everything, I wonder what else could I do. And I know it's wrong of me to leave you all alone, and I wonder if you'll still be standing when I get home. When I get home. When I get home. Standing at the station waiting for a train to you, second guessing everything, I wonder what else could I do. And I know it's wrong of me to leave you all alone, and I wonder if you'll still be standing when I get home. When I get home. When I get home. I'll pack a bag in, I'll walk away again. And I'm gonna go see all the things I've never seen. I might be who I've never been. And if the object of this game is to hurt and not feel pain, well, congratulations, man, you won. But this victory is bittersweet. The only prize awarded me is all the time to sit and think of what I've done. And now I'm standing at the station waiting for a train to you, second guessing everything, I wonder what else could I do. And I know it's wrong of me to leave you all alone, and I wonder if you'll still be standing I get home, when I get home, when I get home, when I get home.
Let's talk about somebody else that you asked something and finally they said yes. You do a lot of voiceover for different things, commercials, other things that we talked about before, but also you read audiobooks in that sexy fucking cigarettes and bourbon voice. You have embarked on somewhat of a project. Hopefully I'm getting this right. Kinky Friedman has written 20 sort of detective novels.
20, not sort of, but yes,
well,
100% detective novels where Kinky Friedman is the detective.
And they're fucking fantastic. I had him autograph one when I saw him a few years ago.
Nice.
But you are going to do the audiobooks for all 20. You've already done one, I think, but you've got a lot of work ahead of you.
I'm halfway through the second one. And yes, 20 audiobooks. Each one takes 3 to 4 months to produce. I've got 5 years of work ahead of me.
How did this happen?
I first met Kinky through a friend, Karen Jones, at the Jones House in Santa Ynez, where we do a free fun concert every year. I first met Kinky there, and he and I just hit it off and got along. And I started asking him about it. I said, hey, you don't have any audiobooks? Let me record your audiobooks. 73, 74, I don't know how old he is. He doesn't know what it is. Audiobooks. Like, what? It took quite a few years and quite a few people who are close to Kinky, I guess, singing my praises, telling Kinky that this is a good idea. Dawson can do this. And, just the more Kinky got to know me, he calls me up every now and then. When I answer the phone or he answers the phone, he always says the same thing. How you doing, my brother? I mean, that in and of itself, to have the great Kinky Friedman, his full name is Kinky Big Dick Friedman, to have him call you brother, there's inescapable pride in that.
There absolutely has to be.
These books got reissued at one point, and my friend Phil, who manages Kinky, said, hey, we found all these brand new forewords to the first 5 books in the series. And he said, do you want to read these? What do you think we should do with these? I said, I'm sending Kinky a microphone. Can we get him to do it? And so Kinky Friedman reads the forewords to the first 5 books. The first one's available right now. It's called Greenwich Killing Time. The second one, A Case of Lone Star, will probably be out in about 5 months.
Kick ass.
Kinky reads, so you get to hear the kinks are on the book, but it's my voice who's representing Kinky Friedman throughout.
That's fantastic. Now, do you do a different voice for the different characters, or do you just read it in your voice?
I do a lot of different voices. In fact, there's one guy who sounds more like Keith Richards. There's one Russian, Boris. So I do a Russian accent. I do a very cockneyed British accent. I do a more proper British accent. And then, when I have to voice women, you just kind of soften your voice a little bit. So, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of range in these books. And then Kinky's always got the same voice. Kinky's not a twanger. Kinky spent a lot of time in New York City. Kinky is as much a New Yorker as he is a Texan. Kinky does not really have too much of a Southern drawl. But when he gets into it and he starts talking to you, there's just a little touch of it in there. And so Kinky has his own voice throughout. And then, his counterpart Ratso sounds like this. It's fun, and it's an exploration thing. You're just like, okay, let's try this. And, when something hits, you're stuck with it. Now, for all the books, Ratso's got to sound like this. And I'm really stuck on the Cockney accent, too.
So do you have like a list? Because it's going to be confusing eventually. I mean, you're going to be...
cover all of it on the second edit. I don't have it. Yeah. Like just fucking read it, get through it. And then as you're going through and editing it, like in this new book, I'm going to have to assign voices to a lot of people. I'm just going to go back and recut all of their voices. And then you do it all at once. So you stay the same and, don't lose the idea of what that accent is. It's a lot of work.
It sounds like a lot of work. That's why it takes so long. That's why it takes months. But you've known him for years and years. What made him say yes now? Was it just Phil?
I think Phil had a lot to do with it. I think Karen Jones had a lot to do with it, and the Jones family. But the best part is Kinky's sister was up at the ranch with him, and I sent him the files of the audiobook. And of course, you're going to have somebody there who can load it onto a computer so that Kinky can hear it. But both Kinky and his sister said, this is it. This is the guy. This is your voice. These are the books.
Oh, that's a fucking great feeling, dude. That's amazing.
So, it's not so much just Kinky. He puts a lot of weight into the people that are on his side. And of course, the biggest is family. So when Kinky Friedman's sister says, that's it, that's the book, that's your guy, Kinky says, okay.
That is really cool. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Those are all available at Audible and Amazon and Apple audiobooks. And I make zero money unless it's bought. I do every single one of these audiobooks on spec. That way I've been able to read great stories. If I just did it for the money, I'd have to read all kinds of bullshit. I don't. I find great stories, great authors. I read their stories. I make the audiobooks, but I only get paid if they're bought. So if you're an audiobook person, please grab Kinky Friedman's. I promise you'll love them.
Speaking for myself, I have read Steppin' on a Rainbow, and it is one of the best detective novels I've ever read. He has a way about writing. It's evident in his music and in his books. It's not hard-boiled. It's kind of a laid-back, wow, there's a mystery here. I guess I'll solve it with my weirdo friends. So it's a lot of fun, and I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't like these books unless it's just a curmudgeon asshole or a 7-year-old.
Yeah, Kinky is a curmudgeon himself. So if you're a curmudgeon asshole, you're going to love this shit.
Well, see, there you go. You've also done books for, like you did Left of Boom. Who wrote that?
Douglas Laux, CIA case officer. There are no CIA agents. CIA case officer who infiltrated the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Rob Lewis, Green Beret medic turned author who wrote a book series called The Pact, which is essentially about World War III based on current events. Scary shit. And it's happening all around us. And then there's Richard Stanley, who has become one of my best friends in the world. Richard robbed 13 banks in San Diego, did 8 years in a California penitentiary before he turned his life around. I've done 2 of his books. That's the Up on Game series. Buck Storm, one of my favorite singer-songwriters, he became an author. I've done 3 of his audiobooks.
And Garagos.
And then Mark Garagos. I did Mistrial for Mark Garagos. I've also done Ghost, Michael R. McGowan's memoir about working as an undercover FBI agent for 30 years. He's the one who built the case against El Chapo.
Sweet. Are all of these you do on spec?
Yep.
Why did you decide to go that route?
Because I believe so much in these books and these authors that I feel that at any time someone else big could notice, and it only takes one thing to happen for someone to become an overnight sensation. One day you could have sold 70 audiobooks. The next week you could have sold 10,070 audiobooks.
Gotcha.
If you take money up front, that's all you get. But if you have a chance to keep a percentage royalty for life, I got a lot of life in front of me. I don't need money that bad right now. I'll take checks as they come.
Nice. That's a great way to approach it. I fucking love that. There's way more to be gained. I think, there's way more upside. And also
have some skin in the game.
It does give you some skin in the game. And also it helps you build the relationship with that author because they're not having to come out of pocket, whatever, hey, here's 15 grand.
Exactly.
Let's just hope it makes the money back.
That's how I got Garagos to sign on. I said, how would you like to do nothing and cash checks? And he said, I'm listening.
Nice. Like I said, that's great. I mean, who would say no to that? You're on commission. So if I don't do a good job, then I'm not going to make any money either. So
right.
I think that's a great way to go. I know that I have kept you for a while and I appreciate it. I do want to thank you so much. This had sort of been in the works a few years ago, and then it just kind of didn't work out with scheduling. So I'm glad that this actually did happen. I could not believe it. Oh, thank you. I could not believe it. I was so excited. Everybody at the Carolla Show has just been so kind and gracious to me for all of these years. I cannot possibly thank all of you enough. You are a great bunch of folks. I would say guys, but Gina's not a dude. Y'all are just a great bunch of folks, and I think that speaks to some maybe some leadership and some community. The community of you guys, the community of the listeners is one thing, but the community of the staff is a whole other thing. Y'all feel like a family to each other's, and as a listener, you guys feel like family to us too. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. Of course. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Across the board at Dos Angeles, DAWSANGELES. Of course, the smokinkills.com is where you can pre-order the new record as soon as that's live. And DosAngeles.com and DawsonAudiobooks.com is where you can find a lot of my stuff.
If somebody wanted you to read their book, I know that you said you don't do a flat fee because you don't want to be reading some dreck. How would somebody try to get your attention for you to decide whether or not you're going to read their book? Does that make sense?
They can email me at mike@dosangeles.com.
Okay, cool. Fantastic.
Easiest way to do it.
Thank you. And as we're heading out, is there anything that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about today, Mike?
No, I think you've done a fantastic job covering it all.
I love you for saying that.
Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, the voice, Mike Dawson, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic COVID-filled schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
Have a great rest of your night, dude. Go have a great weekend and things.
All right, my brother. You too.
All right. Take it easy.
Late.
Hey, Streetwalkers. It's time for a giveaway. Thanks to our generous friends at Sylvania, we're going to give away some Bluetooth speakers. What do you think? These are fairly special and limited Fascination Street podcast edition, as they have a little Fascination Street emblem on the end. This oblong Bluetooth speaker is about 8 inches tall and about 3 inches in diameter, and is IPX4 waterproof. So how do you win? Well, what I need all of you to do is post a short video to your Instagram story, your Facebook story, or even your TikTok, telling everybody why you love Fascination Street Podcast and which is your favorite episode. Make sure to tag the show in these videos, and each week I'll pick one winner to win one of these special limited edition Sylvania Bluetooth speakers, and I'll mail it to you. And I might even throw a couple of other Fascination Street pod swag in there as well. So tell a friend, tell all your friends, and include it in your stories on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And don't forget to tag the show, Fascination Street Podcast. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.